G'day. Australians are the dumbest people on earth. Now, that's going to really annoy people who hear, if you're Australians and hear the person saying that has got such an accent that I have, but then I am an Australian. I've been here a very long time. And nonetheless, I'm seen as a really dumb Australian because I've got a rational approach to life. I can do a bit of maths. I can certainly get my head around a bit of science and sort of understand the basic common sense that China is increasing its CO2 output till 2030, and yet if I know that, amongst all the other people who know that, we're all dumb people. The people who know things, they don't believe it. They know because China said it's going to increase its CO2 out till 2030. We know that for a fact. We're dumb. Anyone who doesn't know that, or who can't admit that, like Richard Di Natale and Alan Bandt and the Liberal Party, the Labour Party, all these politicians who can't admit that China is going to increase its CO2 to 2030, they're all the clever people. They're all the wise and geniuses of the world. The rest of us who have worked out already that China is going to keep expanding its CO2, so there's not much point of us all going freezing through winter, hardly able to afford our electricity bills, because we're trying to go to Australia with only 25 million people, is going alone to save the world from, freezing to death this winter? Because, oh yes, global might be warming, but in the meantime, millions of people are going to freeze to death trying to stop the global warming. In England and America and here, we're in Australia, it's freezing in winter, whether you like it or not. People can't afford electricity because they're trying to stop global warming. It's a contradiction in logic for a start. Why would anyone have said, we're going to make people freeze to death, and now Bill Shorten's going to take franking credits off people who put those by, hoping then they could afford their eating, and this person who can't like anyone over 65 at all, you can't stand them for some reason, he wants to cut some of their money off so they can have even more difficulty paying for the electricity bills, as they're going to ramp up the cost of electricity for the next 10 years, saying Australia's going to go it alone and we are going to stop global warming when China's going to increase. Right out till then, to 2030, it's it's going to replace the old coal-fired power stations with new ones, and it's going to do that for this reason. And they won't tell you this either, because we're too dumb to understand basic common sense. Us Aussies, and I'm Australian, don't care what anyone thinks, I'm Australian as anyone. In this respect, I'm one of the dumb ones. But because China knows it's got to reduce its reliance on imported oils and fuels, it wants to then it has to replace that source of energy for mobility for its vehicle fleet with another, which you cannot do with wind and solar. It knows that. You can't rely on wind and solar. So it's putting new coal-fired power stations in, so it can then charge up on a reliable basis millions and millions and millions of electric cars, because China's going to flood its market with electric cars and no doubt eventually flood Australia with electric cars. But the thing is, if it floods Australia with electric cars by the time 2030 comes along, when Bill Shorten and Scott Morrison and the Greens have got rid of all the coal-fired power stations, if they can get away with it, Greens in particular want to get rid of all coal, you will not be able to charge your car fleet up. Because right now, at this moment, the last 2 days, hardly a breeze of wind has blown. So imagine if everyone's plugging their cars in the evenings, when everyone's cooking the dinner, having a shower, and all the other things, when the internet takes an awful lot of power, and all that, we don't have the energy. And another lie, certain things are downright lies, what basically proves the having you on when it comes to climate change, especially in Australia. And one is lithium. They say, we want to use renewables. We've got to get rid of coal and use renewables, because coal is pollution and all that. Lithium is a highly toxic mineral that we don't know what to do with when we dispose of it. What are we going to do with it? Not only that, It's not a renewable. It's got a finite. It's a finite resource. It's actually, there's billions and billions of tons of coal. How much lithium there is? Well, probably 15 years from now, we're going to be scratching our backside for wonder what we're going to do to replace it, because it's all going to be gone. It's a finite resource. We're going to get rid of an abundant resource, because there's no way that a wind is not reliable, so you're going to store the energy. You can't store the energy in batteries because you can't have enough batteries. If all the world can imagine, or the Greens are going to imagine it is, in their heads, all the world's going to store all this energy in batteries to drive up the lifts and drive electric trains and all that. And it just shows you the people who think they're clever are actually really, really quite odd and quite thick if you think about it for 2 minutes. But another thing also what people ought to know is that another night when it's on the Solomon Islands is sinking into the sea. What is sinking? Because it's on tectonic plates, and this is a thing called subduction. And isostasy means the plasticity of the earth, means the earth rises up and down according to all sorts of myriad arrangement of different forces upon the earth's crust, solar gravity, the lunar gravity, all sorts of things make the tectonic plates move around. Immobile they are upon the Earth's core, if you like. Now, and that means some places can be going up, and some places can be going down. It's a bit like that. The Earth is. It's very, very slowly. Sometimes it can be abruptly and go up very, very quickly. A geologist will testify to. With the Solomons is sinking, according to Channel 9, 60 minutes is it, faster than anywhere else in the world. That seas are rising there. Well, you know, why is the sea peaking on Solomon Islands and it's rising there faster than anywhere else? I thought the water was pretty level all over the world. It's not actually, because of wind pressures and oceanic pressures and pressure between different currents and stuff raise up the water. You get lumps of like Bass Strait 6 foot higher, I think, than the rest of the surrounding seas. But so it's hard to say what is exactly right. I mean, if the Solomons is going down because it's on a tectonic plate being subducted under the Pacific plate, it's simple as that. Isostasy, eustatic fluctuation, is what geologists describe as the word geologists use to describe the difference in water going up and down over the millions of years, 1,000 years, water being up and down forever. It's been 300 feet lower than 12, 15,000 years ago, 300 feet lower, and then it's going up and up. And it's still going up slightly because of the pressure has come off, the ice pressure has come off the northern continent, the Scandinavian continental shelf especially, and that's still rising up. And Archimedes he says, well, the water's got to go somewhere else. It's displacing the water. The water's swelling and is being displaced somewhere because the land's coming up. More land's coming up out of the sea in some places. Water's going over some places. Some places tectonic plates are going down. Some places are going up. And that's how it is. To say that, well, we're going to measure the seas have gone up by 2 millimeters. Where? Because some places are going up, but some places are coming out of the water. So when they've got into this ideology of climate change, which it is, they're treating all the clever people, all the people who can rationalise and work out things from a common sense perspective, as idiots. And all the people who go along with the fact that Australia is going to save the climate for some reason by sacrificing its whole people, by freezing them to death, they're the geniuses. And it's also another thing also where they say, oh, he's not a scientist, that person's not a scientist. If anyone says this or that person's not a scientist, they're not qualified to understand what a scientist is and what a scientist is. Because I think it was someone on ABC said, oh, but John Lomberg, brilliant Danish economic scientist, wasn't a scientist. Actually, man's a genius. Far and above anyone working in this country, Australia, or anyone else on the outer deal with climate change from a purely scientific perspective, which is always one about economics or energy, not this ad hoc political bullshit we're having to put up with Australia, which means we can't afford heating in winter, cooling in summer because we're saving the planet from the planet from global warming. So we have to. People in Canberra are freezing every winter now because of the pure mean-spiritedness of the people in the climate change fanatics, whatever it is. Robots are in the climate change fanatics. The proscribed clones, if you like, are getting their jollies off, knowing that all people who cause these massive problems for climate are freezing to death. There's sort of some kind of weird old sadomasochistic thing going on here, because Australia cannot do anything about China raising the amount of CO2 it is doing to recharge its electric vehicles. We can't even have that discussion because we're too dumb. We Australians, I'm whatever I am, or whatever you are, we are too dumb to have common sense, rational discussion, because we, according to the politicians, are the dumbest people on earth. Bye.